When the company that basically stress tests the future has a record quarter, that's a huge signal about where technology is really heading. So today, we're going to break down Keysight's Q4 2025 results to see the story they're telling, not just about one company, but about, well, the entire tech landscape. And look, the CEO, Satish Dhanasekaran, he put it perfectly. He called it an outstanding quarter. Now, that's not just some corporate buzzword. It really sets the stage for a story about momentum that's actually picking up speed and some real financial muscle.
And here's the big headline number to back that up. Bam, $1.42 billion in revenue just for Q4. That's a really solid 10% jump from last year. But as you're about to see, that's really only the tip of the iceberg. So that phrase, strong finish, what does it actually look like when you break it down into the numbers? Let's peel back the layers and look at the key metrics that made this performance so impressive. Okay, what's really amazing here is just how strong the growth is across the board. Yeah, revenue is up 10%, that's great. But look at the orders. This is what customers are lining up to buy. That's up a huge 14%. And maybe most importantly, if you're an investor, earnings per share jumped 16%. It's not just one good number, it's the whole package. So who is this company that's firing on all cylinders? Before we get into why they're growing so fast, let's just do a quick run-through of what Keysight actually does to power the entire tech world. The easiest way to think about it is this. If a company is building the next-gen microchip, or a 6G network, or even a new satellite, Keysight provides the super advanced tools to make sure it all works and works perfectly. They're basically designing and testing the future to make sure it doesn't break before it even gets to us. Okay, so the company is basically split into two main groups. The really big one is the Communications Solutions Group, or CSG. That's 70% of their business. Think wireless, aerospace, all that stuff. The other 30% is the Electronic Industrial Solutions Group, or EISG, and that covers other critical areas like cars and semiconductors.
And their business, it's truly global. I mean, look at this. It's almost perfectly split between the Americas and Asia Pacific, with each region making up 41% of their revenue. When you have that kind of balance, it gives you incredible stability and a front row seat to innovation no matter where it's happening.
All right, now for the really big question. What is driving all of this growth? Well, the first, and you could argue the most important driver, is a trend that's just taking over everything: artificial intelligence. Let's see how this AI boom is directly fueling Keysight's bottom line. Think about it this way. Every single time you hear about a more powerful AI model, you have to remember that it requires a mountain of new, insanely complex hardware just to run it. We're talking new chips, new networking gear, new everything. And guess what? Every single one of those new designs has to be tested like crazy. And this isn't just theory. They're actually working with giants like Broadcom to validate the very hardware that makes AI possible. We're talking custom AI chips and networking gear that moves data at 1.6 terabits per second. I mean, to put that in perspective, that's fast enough to download hundreds of HD movies in a single second. It's just wild. And here's the proof in the pudding. Remember that big communications group we just talked about? It hit almost $1 billion in revenue this quarter, up 11%. And the company says it flat out. This growth was driven by investments in AI data centers. The connection is direct, it's powerful, and it's happening right now. But as huge as AI is, it's not the whole story, not even close. Keysight's expertise is just as crucial in a whole bunch of other technologies that are shaping our world. I mean, just look at this list. They're on the front lines of 5G and even early 6G research. They're making those new satellite networks that connect straight to your phone possible. They're a massive partner in modernizing defense and aerospace systems, and they're deep in the auto industry, testing everything from EV batteries to the software that's basically turning our cars into computers on wheels. And get this. While AI is grabbing all the headlines, the demand from the aerospace and defense sector was so intense, it actually set a record for orders for the entire year. A record. That tells you there's incredible strength here, well beyond just one trend. This kind of success, it doesn't just happen by accident. It's all about strategy. So let's shift gears and look at how Keysight is managing its business, not just for today, but to win in the long run. So let's just zoom out for a second and look at the full fiscal year. The growth trend is crystal clear.
They brought in $5.5 billion in new orders, which is a great sign for future business, and they cashed in on $5.4 billion in revenue. Both are up 8%, which is a really solid foundation for the year to come. And this isn't just growth for the sake of it. It's super profitable. They kept their operating margin at nearly 26% and grew earnings per share by 14% for the year. That just screams strong, disciplined management.
Keysight is also playing chess, making these really smart acquisitions to get ready for the future. They've picked up companies like Spirent and really important teams from Synopsys and Ansys. This move deepens their software and simulation tools, which is exactly where the whole industry is going. And while they're investing all this money in growth, they're also taking care of their shareholders. I mean, big time. The board just authorized a new $1.5 billion share buyback program. That's a huge vote of confidence from the leadership team in the company's future value. Okay, so killer quarter, fantastic year. The big question now is, can they keep this train rolling? Let's take a look at the company's own forecast to see what they're expecting. Well, if you look at their official guidance for the next quarter, the answer seems to be a resounding yes. They're actually projecting revenue to be even higher than the amazing quarter they just had, and they expect earnings per share to climb up over $2. That is a forecast for continued serious strength. Which really just leaves us with this final thought. The more we rely on AI, on 6G, on autonomous cars, and satellite internet, the higher the stakes get if something goes wrong. So the real question isn't just about one company's quarterly earnings. It's about their role in all of this. As everything gets faster and more complex, the companies that make sure it all actually works, they don't just become important, they become absolutely essential.